your backup is arriving on another call.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to a special editions of the Storytelling Chronicles, Combating Cargo Theft. And that was quick, wasn't it? Today, I got a special guest who is going to join me, Danielle Spinelli, the account executive from Descartes. We're going to bring her in real quick.
Hi, thanks for having me.
How are you?
Good, really good. I'm excited that you brought me on. It's funny. I'm sure everybody's like annoyed at me popping up on their LinkedIn feed, but I'm so passionate about this. I know you are too. So I had to make sure we talked about it because you got a lot of information that even I don't know. So
yeah, and you know, this isn't something new. It's growing exponentially across the country. You know, I know you're going to be talking with Chips on Monday afternoon, I believe, at 2:00. So everybody out there needs to check out Danielle's special event. She's talking to some really key individuals who are trying to combat cargo theft, amongst other things as well. Let's talk a little bit about that, Danielle. Tell me about your show that's coming up.
yeah, so my webinar is next Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern. And I'm having, so basically how this whole thing came about is I met at another conference, I met the California Highway Patrol Cargo Theft Task Force. It's 4 guys, they handle all of Southern Cal, like, which is insane because Southern Cal is like 75% of all, theft is happening in California. So 4 guys doing all these things, met up with them, had drinks with them, hung out. They were telling me all these war stories, all these, like, just the craziest things. And you know what happens, but you don't hear like, in like an episode of Cops, like you don't see those things.
Right.
And so whenever we were talking, I'm like, we have to tell everybody, like everybody needs to know these stories. And we're in logistics, we hear it all the time, but seeing it and then also seeing that there's actually like officers that really care, because I think that's really the misconception. And even whenever I was a broker and I had something happen, I had to call and I had like a load held hostage, and they're like, well, this is a civil matter. You're like,
right.
There's technically it's trying to steal my freight. Like this is more than a civil matter. So getting kind of the whole point of it is going to be them helping us in the community. Like, how do we actually talk to these police officers? Because unfortunately they're not educated. They don't know what to do. This is kind of like a new thing for the police departments that they don't have training on. So they're going to kind of talk about what they actually do whenever they get a phone call and they say, yeah, I got to call this precinct, and then teach them what to say and what to do. So they'll kind of lead us on that. What happens if you do have something stolen? What are your steps? And then how to prevent it. Of course, that's really the big thing, is we want to prevent anything from ever happening to us. But I think it's key to know what, if something does happen, because some stuff is completely out of our control. If our driver gets held up by gunpoint, I mean, we couldn't stop that. You know what I mean? So I think no matter what, you need to be prepared. You need to have processes. And then I'm wrapping it up with having the TIA government affairs guy on. His name is Daniel Hoff. And really just talking about, I mean, he's on Capitol Hill trying to get policy issues from cargo theft in place. Like there's a bill that's going through right now. And it's like, what can we as regular Americans do? Like, how can we help? How can we help get our police officers educated? How can we help have these bad guys have harder prosecuted time, and not just like getting prosecuted for a year and then coming right back out in 4 months. Like there's got to be something that we can do. And I'm big on, like, if I see a problem, I got to solve it. So I'm hoping we get the whole community involved. I can't scream this from the rooftops enough. So like I said, I'm really, really excited you brought me on, just because the more we talk about it, the more exposure it gets, and hopefully we can make a change.
Yeah. We have to lean on them as much as they need to lean on us, right? You're talking
Right.
about police officers who just started this new task force, right? That's not really educated. Here we are, all of us, the ones who are fighting fraud, who are in the trenches, that deal with it every single day. They are initially trying to learn as much as they can from us, the ones that deal with
Right.
it. I mean, when you look at the millions and millions of freight fraud, deceptive practices that are out there, that us as consumers, remember, we're the end users of everything that's being shipped in the country. So that trickle down effect makes our wallet a little thinner, because somebody's got to
Right.
pay for it, and it's going to be put in with COGS, the cost of goods sold, because they're not going to take a huge beating. They make
Right.
a little bit of it, and only insurance companies are only going to cover just not all of it, but most of it. But how many people are on that task force out there, Danielle?
So there's several throughout the United States. From my understanding, it's California, Florida, Illinois, Texas. I think that's the only states that actually have one. Georgia, I guess, had one, but they dismantled it. In California, there's the Southern Cal, which is only 4 guys that do the whole thing, and then I think there's another like LA area. I don't know how many people are on that, and then they have Northern Cal, and I think there's only 2 guys in Northern Cal. So I
Please.
mean, like I was just talking to them yesterday, kind of doing like our prep work for the webinar, and it was the main sergeant that was on, and he's like, "Yeah, the other guys can't do it. They're doing a knock warrant or whatever it's called to go into a warehouse that they feel like has stolen goods." And he's like, "We'll get back to you. We'll share that story too." And I mean, they're dealing with this all the time. Like this, like I said, the stories that they show, and what I'm doing in that webinar is showing some of the videos that they sent me, where they're going to these warehouses all the way high, all the way deep, all stolen goods. And these guys are basically getting a slap on the wrist. It's like millions of dollars of stuff getting stolen. Us in logistics, we're not sleeping because of this. And these guys just go in for like those, they say like they get like a year's time. They'll serve like 4 months good behavior and then get out, and then they're right back at it. And they're even saying, we get calls about this new theft that happened. They'll tell us all the details, and we're like, hey, that kind of sounds like so-and-so's operation. Because it really is like a group of organizations that are out there that are doing things. And then they'll like look up the person. They're like, sure enough, they got out recently. And then they go after them again and lock them up again. I mean, it's just a repeated, they're like beating their head against the wall because they can't stand it too. So they want our help just as much as we want theirs.
Yet rules and regulations are in place, but nobody's executing them or enforcing them.
Right.
Truly, that's out there. And, when we spoke, I don't know, a week or so ago, the one thing that I reflected upon was during COVID, and even past that, where the IMDL trains were coming out of Los Angeles through the ports, and they were going underneath the city. And all you saw was a strew of empty boxes, even product that were still in the boxes, just lining the tracks. And
right.
It just didn't happen overnight, because you don't get tons of debris, next to a train in a few hours. You're talking months. The biggest question that I have for Chips is, if you know that it's going on, why aren't there manpower there? Yeah, you guys got shootings and they're going after warehouses and those type of things, but this is present. I mean, these people are on these trains, slow moving trains, mind you, that are moving, out of the city. And these guys, vandals, fraudsters, are right on there, cutting locks, opening up doors, and throwing product out to their friends. That's one of the biggest questions. And I understand only 4 of them are managing this new task force, but things have to change on that, because they know what's going on, and nobody's accountable for it. It's terrible.
Truly like the wild, wild west. I mean, it's crazy. And what's crazy to me is that I was like, how do I get a task force in Georgia? How do I get them to redo that? And he's like, well, you need funds. And he's like, in California, what we had to do is go to our city hall meetings and advocate that they add like an extra $1 to like our DMV prices or for our whatever taxes, to allocate those money towards just towards that cargo task force. And even if we did like, $1 extra for every CDL license, and then that money goes towards that, or even just every license period, because really I don't even think CDL would cover it. But I think something like that needs to happen. Their biggest thing is like, it's funding. Like we want to do all these things. We have all these ideas, but every time we go to put something in, they're like, oh, we don't have that in our budget, or we don't have that. And so, I mean, like I said, they're just as frustrated as we are on stuff like that. And they really, once you meet these guys, I mean, they're like the best guys I've ever met. They're so into it, just like how you and me are, where we're like, live and breathe this fraud. I mean, they really believe in doing the good thing. So yeah, I think whatever we can do as Americans to help them,
Yeah, and I was just talking to you earlier about this, but I am the co-founder of a new organization called the Freight Fraud Task Force, and this is exactly what we're going to do. And we have a board, we have lawyers, we're going to have representatives in every state, locally pushing our narrative. We're not going to draw roadmaps. We're not going to give the bad guys the loopholes of how to circumvent what we're trying to do. The only thing that we're going to talk about is achievements on state level, country level, mode level, and we're going to get out there. And we're in the process right now of doing this. I can't elaborate on it much, but those bad guys out there, those scumbags, be wary, be scared. And I'm not just saying that as a joke. We mean it. And enough is enough, because it's affecting everybody out there, brokers, carriers, and shippers. And we all got to work together in a collaborative effort. All those freight fraud fighters that are out there, we need to conjoin our efforts and really push narrative. And the only way we're going to do that is, to be consistent and be in every single state. It can't be localized. We need to get out there, and we're going to do that. So, and I know I talked to you, and you're going to get involved with it as most.
Yeah, I can't wait. Yeah, I can't wait. What you guys are doing is awesome, and it takes something like that to happen. Unfortunately, like we got to have, I was talking to somebody the other day about this, and they're like, I don't understand why this isn't really mainstream media, and I think that's a good point. I think if this was on every news channel, then it would be a bigger thing. So it's like, those guys who are golfing with whoever, like, why don't we put a segment on whatever? I mean, it is like an episode of Cops that we could be filming, and you can make it real juicy. I promise I got some stories for you guys, and even like, back in the day, whenever it was like the mafia was a big thing that they're trying to shut down. I mean, that was like organized crime at its finest then. And then they had a big initiative. I mean, it just almost takes that awareness, the right person getting hit or the right person being aware to finally have something be done. So I'm hoping, like you said, that fraud task force, having enough people involved, enough people making noise, that's really the only way anything can change, I think, is just shout it from the rooftops.
Oh no. And I failed to mention this organization that I co-founded is a nonprofit as well.
Yeah.
We want to give back. We want to have, a huge impact. And you mentioned about TV and everything. I can't elaborate, but there's a lot of things that are going to be going on. And I'm below water on this. That's how deep I am in this. I've been in the business for 45 years. I've never faced fraud, double brokering, or theft in 45 years. I did not have the tools that they have today. You and I both know that there's a tremendous amount of overlap. We're all trying to do the right things, but are we doing the right things in the right area with the right people in the right places? Those are the things that we need to really dig into and put the right people in like I said, the right places to really get under the weeds. Let's put it that way.
Right. No, I definitely agree. And even like how you mentioned the overlap on things too. I think, like you said, everybody's trying to do things, but I think one of the things that like tech has kind of messed up on, and I know one of our new things that we've actually have done on the background, but we haven't told any of our customers about because we don't want this to get out to the bad guys. Right. But whenever we do have a new method of solving things, we just we show everybody it. And then what happens whenever the broker or the shipper or whoever's talking to the bad guy, they're like, yeah, I can't work with you because you have whatever. You're literally giving them a playbook. Please quit talking about it. So we had to make it where our new, the new thing that we have in our system, we're just not telling customers we're doing it. If somebody calls us and is like, hey, why don't you guys do this? We're like, well, we do. It's behind the scenes. this is how we're doing it, but don't tell anybody, you know, this is top secret. And I don't think enough of us do that in tech. And to be fair, as a broker or a shipper, if you're telling me I can't work with somebody, you want to know why. You're like, this isn't my only option, you know.
Right.
But it's in some cases, I mean, I guess it depends on who your relationship with your tech partner or whatever is. I think some places you just need to be like, trust the process. You know, we're in the weeds on things. We're not trying to shut down carriers. It's
No.
yeah. But I think you're right.
We're
You
trying
can't
to
give away
protect
can't give away the book.
Yeah,
Right.
we're trying to
Exactly.
protect carriers. We're trying to protect shippers. We're trying to protect brokers, because what people fail to understand, your brand image and reputation is in every shipment that you handle.
Right.
It's up to you to be a responsible human being in this industry to protect everything at all costs. And deceptive people do deceptive things and in desperate times. And this is perfect. This is a perfect breeding ground for that. That's why you're seeing bad economy, people struggling, trying to make ends meet, trying to put food on the table. You know, if the right opportunity comes up, those people will do deceptive things. And we have to hold those people accountable for everything that they do, you know, not just as a brokerage, as an entity, as a business, but the underlying level, the brokers who commit these frauds that need to be, held accountable. How do we identify them? You know, I won't say much more, but there are things that we will put in place, you know, that we are developing. So, you know, we're in this together. You know, I want to protect the good guys. You know,
right? Our initiative too is like I went to Matt's this year, and I'm on the cents per mile. I've been on the Sirius XM, the Road Dog radio stuff too. Really, I mean, that's not our customer base. Like we're making zero money off that. We're actually spending a good amount of money doing it, but really, we're trying to educate carriers because it's sad whenever you hear from a carrier and you're like, there's no way you're not in on this. Like, how did you not see the red flags? Like, you're telling me you're a good guy, but yet you backed up to another truck in the middle of a field somewhere and like transloaded some tires. Like, and like one guy was videoing it as like, in the video, he's like, I don't feel good about this, but let it happen. And you're like, what are you doing? So I think even just that, like the education on the carriers are really getting neglected. I think that's really why they got hit so hard. And I think in the industry, we did a bad job at kind of giving a lot of our jobs overseas. And then those countries really were struggling a lot harder than we were in the US. They learned all of our weak spots, and they've just been like, just slamming us basically with all this fraud. And then now people here are learning the same thing now that our economy is not bad. So because it's been an issue for a long time, but it's definitely reared its ugly head, that's for sure.
Yeah, you know, I just want to go back to that video that you shared in the beginning, you know, of that cargo theft there. And you know, I always look at I'm a big picture person, and I don't look at the act, I look at everything around that, and a few things just stood out. And you may have the same questions as I have, but I saw a tent there with a table and a chair. Nobody was sitting there. Now I don't know what that chair, table, and tent represented to this theft that happened. But as you saw, the movie clip was sped up a little bit. But the guy took time to open up that fence. Was there a lock on it? And did he have a key for that lock to open up that lock to that? So if he had the key to the lock, that tells me it's an inside job of telling somebody, you know what, we have container XYZ12345 that's sitting in the back corner that's got X what a product in it. Here's the key. Go in there, pick it up like you would normally do, you know, just
it is weird how he knew exactly what trailer to get. You know what I mean?
And I just,
think he did.
You know, that's what I would be focusing in on.
Yeah.
Like, how did he get that key to that lock? Because even though it was
sped up, more inside.
Even though that clip was sped up, he took time to unlock. And do that. You know, so you know, it's those little things that matter a lot when you're investigating theft and trying to uncover, you know, and it happens this happens all over the place. I mean, it's just
everywhere.
It's just
Well,
really, really
and that just goes to show you too, if you are doing a high value, high risk product, I mean, it could have been another thing that could have happened where it wasn't an inside job is somebody, and this happens all the time. I used to have high value stuff, and we used to have drivers that would get followed from the shipper. They didn't know what exactly was on there. Like sometimes the shipments weren't high value, but the majority of the shipments were. They'd follow them from that shipper, follow them. Like we told our drivers, you cannot stop 200, 300
Nope.
miles away. You better go to the bathroom. You better eat right beforehand because you are not
exactly.
And it's for their safety too. And then, on that same note, like maybe they're following them and then they bring it into what they think is a secure yard. I mean, anybody can bolt cut a lock, you know what I mean? And all they got to do is drive right up. So maybe they knew all that and somebody was supposed to be sitting there. They were parked on the side of the thing, waiting for somebody to go inside for the lunch break. I mean, who knows? Right. I mean, it could be just perfect storm. The guy was really, they do their homework. Like one of the biggest things that's, kind of I think it's been happening for a long time, but it's really been like rearing its ugly head lately is the BOL manipulation. And these carriers are studying these lanes, like they're running lanes perfectly. They're doing a great job. And then they find the right broker, the right customer, the right receiver, the right shipper, right freight. And they'll just take, a couple pallets off here and there, change the bills. They know that they're not getting caught. They'll do it for money. Like I was talking to Scott Cornell from Travelers, and he was like, yeah, people are going back a whole year and then finding things. And that's on the receiver too. Why are you guys not doing inventory for a year, once a year? Like that's insane. That's on you, So it's wild. Like they've definitely found our loopholes and they are just going at it. And then somebody else was like, is this ever going to end? I'm like, I think there's always going to be some sort of loophole, but I think the more we talk about it, kind of like that scam where like everyone was calling your grandma and saying, oh, your grandson's in jail, get him out, wire this money. Yeah. I remember when I first heard that, and I'd call my grandma like, hey, none of us are going to jail and we'll never call you if that happens. Like we will call somebody else. So do not send any money. But that's a loophole that was there and they found that. And then it takes talking about it,
Yeah. To your point, and you were dead on. When I was moving $1 million loads of tough books, laptops, 3 things that I did, and you said most of them. One, both tanks on your power unit better be filled. You better come to the bathroom. You're not stopping within 250 miles of the pickup. And then I rerouted those shipments every time they moved. It never went the same lane. Never did. I put the geofencing on that.
That's smart.
Right? They weren't allowed to park at home over the weekend. They were not allowed to leave their truck. It was a team. Somebody had to stay with that truck and walk around that truck every 5 minutes when it was parked at a truck stop or whatever, if it was a team. But under no circumstances was that driver allowed to leave that vehicle parked in a parking area or Flying J or Sheez's or whatever it might be.
It takes 1 minute.
You have to be cognizant. You have to think like a thief, and what would they think about doing to try to outthink the thinkers when you're trying to move big things like that? Maybe that's the reason why. I don't know. Maybe that's the reason why I didn't never face theft or anything like that, because I took the precautionary measures to make sure.
And you do a good job at. Yeah, you do a good job at having that communication open with your shippers, and a lot of people don't. Like even whenever we were doing high value freight, like we had the communication with them, but it wasn't, we were also scared of losing them as a customer. Like we didn't want to seem vulnerable, or we didn't know what we were doing. We wanted to be like, oh, we're the experts. We know everything. But really, like we needed to know what's happening to other people that are hauling freight for you. Like that whole thing should have been a constant communication between everybody on like new tactics that they're doing to just avoid another broker from getting hit. I think that's one of a big thing with the shipper that I think they're trying to make it where they stay competitive with their brokers. That's great. But if you have high value, I even had a customer the other day that they had a high value load and the shipper didn't even tell them. It was over $1 million and they didn't even tell them. Like, how can you not tell them, and then you expect them to be responsible for it. And then because they weren't this one had to have been an inside job because this is like the only load they've ever done that was high value. Happened to be on this one truck. That one truck got hit at a truck stop and the driver had no idea. The broker had no idea. I'm sorry, that's on you. You got to be open and communicative on all that.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and that's why I have on my board in the back, and it says, cheapest is the most expensive way to conduct business. Meaning that if you're going to go with a cheap carrier, you're not going to vet them, and you want to save $700, that would be the most expensive $700 that you saved, because you have to sink it in their heads that you may have saved $700 now, but if that scumbag takes off, he doesn't do his pre-check inspection on it, blows a tire or whatever, right? Because he just doesn't have enough money to maintain his truck. He leaves your place of business, travels 200 miles, he blows a steer wheel, and he rolls over and kills a family of 4. Right. There goes that nuclear verdict. There goes that thermonuclear verdict. That's $700 a mere bag of shells, because now you're going to be, spending multiple $1 million in a settlement. How stupid is that? Vet the people that you do business with. I tell shippers, I don't care who you do business with. I was a shipper. Vet everyone. Even the brokers that you reach out to, just because they got the cheapest rates doesn't mean they're ethical people. Go into their background, see what the kind of experience that they have. What have they done in the last? Are they new to the industry? What kind of questions should I be asking them? I mean, I could go on for hours on this kind of stuff, but you really need to do that. There's a lot of unethical practices out there that are just overlooked because it's money first, protection last. I mean, that's the way that they do, because their upper level, the president,
that's the leadership,
whatever, is putting the pressure on the logistics manager to save as much as you possibly can. Even 10 to 15% of their logistics business budget is spent on transportation. And they need to cut. But at what cost? That's the biggest question that should be asked. At what cost? And to your point, they try to save more money. Oh, it's only $100,000. That's all we need on that cargo, or whatever. It's like, oh, it's a low value, so we don't have to put all this, or, it's those stupid questions. It's like money.
$100,000 is a lot of money. I mean, that's like my first house I bought was during the recession and stuff, but my first house was $90,000. Like I could have bought a whole house for that. And you're just talking about it's crazy to me how some brokers are like, well, it was $100,000 load. I had to write a check for it. Like, do you know where that could have went or what you could have done with that? If you're just writing checks willy nilly, there's plenty of people you can donate money to or whatever. No, I think you're exactly right. With it comes from leadership. And that's kind of one of the future webinars I'm wanting to do for My Care Portal is building a culture, a compliance culture, because it does need to come from the top. At my old company, we had it where if you did have a theft happen and you did not follow the process, they nitpicked it. You do not get commission. You have to come out of pocket on things. It wasn't 100,000. Like that isn't realistic, but you would lose commission for like a quarter or something crazy. Luckily that never happened to me, but I mean, they had it scared into us where it's like, you have financial impact as well, not just the company. You are responsible for your freight if you're covering it. And that just made me fall. I mean, I remember waking up in the middle of the night, like, oh my God, I think I forgot to do this one thing. And oh my God, and that's why whenever we switched to our product, it was like, thank God, because I didn't have to manually do so much. But no, it's a culture. If you're getting hit left and right with thefts and stuff, it is on you. That is on leadership, Yes. And even it needs. So I talked to another customer at TIA, and they were talking about how they recently made it where it wasn't just the carrier sales rep that they were doing the fraud, compliance stuff with. They were doing it on the customer side, because now they're posing as shippers and having fake accounts and fake loads being sent to you. Mm-hmm. And then even in the accounting, accounting's got to look for those fake BOLs. Everybody in the whole org needs to know what to look for. What are some signs? What's happening in the industry? Listening to these, going to events, listening to people talk, listening to podcasts. You cannot be educated enough. I feel like even I learn stuff all the time, and you and me are doing this day in, day out.
Yeah. And my advice to you is if you want to be as successful as you want to be, close your inner circle and start, collaborating with like-minded
Yeah.
individuals with the same passion, and surround yourself with them. You'll achieve more goals with that kind of mindset that's supporting you and you're supporting them, than if you're just all over the freaking place, asking
Mhm.
the right questions to the wrong people.
Right.
Networking is key in combating fraud. It
Yeah.
really is. You can't just jump to conclusion and put people in a place to try to fill a void. They have to be the right person. That's
Yeah.
going to achieve more things in less time. Like I always love this saying that I made up a long time. I want to achieve more. I want to do more in less time, being work smarter, not harder, to achieve more in less time, right? And
Right.
that's the key in this. If you want to get that wheel turning and you want to move quickly, get those people out there. And I know you're doing it.
Yeah. Right. Well, trying to. I mean, it's nice having, I mean, like you guys, Dale Prax,
Yeah.
everyone else really that I've met that's really hungry about fraud. And like I said, every time I talk to you guys, I always learn something different. I'm hoping you guys learn from me some too. It's
Oh
like
yeah.
that's how we learn. And then I think because we have so much passion for it, I was telling somebody, I'm like, I don't think I could ever not work in like whatever company I go to, it needs to be fraud related. Like I love it. It's so like, and then somebody was like, you need to watch how to catch a smuggler, because that'll be right up your alley. You love all
Right.
that stuff. I'm like, we need how to catch a smuggler cargo theft edition and get
Right.
that out there. But yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, Dale Prax, I call him Dr. Fraud. I mean, he really is. I mean,
Yeah.
he's like the physician of getting rid of, the fraud ailment that everybody suffers from. He's
Yeah.
so passionate and so driven, with his freight validate. I love the guy. I mean,
Yeah. Me too.
I think his product is one of the best products out there. And yes, I use it. I'm not afraid to say that because I believe in it and I support it and I support him and his efforts. And I know he supports me as well. And the thing is those are the type of people you have to surround yourself with. That's
Right.
just not going to say what they want to do and not do it. But actually, it's like ISO. Say what you do what you say, document the crap out of it, and then show everybody your achievements. And then all of a sudden people start getting on board and believing in your narrative and your objective and your goals, and it starts growing like
Right.
really quick because you're like, no, they got something that somebody else doesn't have, and we're going to get there a lot quicker. I want to be part of it. That's what you have to build.
Well, and even like how you're like, yeah, I use Dale's product. I think that's huge. Whenever you're vetting for any type of tech stack that you have, you need to know what kind of who the company is, not even just like, oh, they have these flashy things or they're great at this. And even like on a factoring level and the
Yes.
payment side of things too. I think you need to know, are these people really interested in fighting fraud, or are they really interested in knowing the business? Like, were they a broker before? I think that's huge. Like if you haven't been in the industry and you're just in tech, I don't know. I mean, I have met people where it's like, wow, they actually know what they're talking about. They've done their homework, but it's pretty rare. Most of them have to be in the trenches and
Yep.
then have expanded from there to really get it. Cause it's a different world being a broker or being a carrier or being a shipper. Like you can't teach that. Even though my daughter, when she was 13, she would hop on the call and be selling my loans, but she heard me talking about that all the time. So she knows about it, but that doesn't count.
Yeah. But you know what, to your point, and I say it all the time, what's lacking in the industry in many parts is a lack of practical experience of being in the trenches and actually understanding how the mechanisms of logistics work
Yeah.
and how to outthink thinkers out there, because how they work, where the possible loopholes are, how to shut it down quickly. It's
Yeah.
not like case studies and book work where you get out of college and you're like
Yeah.
more technical and everything. Well, I have to do this and I have to do that and I have to do this and I have to talk to so and so. No, you have to get to a point to be able to hit that toggle switch and go to off like
Mhm.
that. There's no
Right.
time. That time is wasted time, and that's where they're going to get you. They're going to get you quickly if you can't turn off that spigot and stop it from rolling, and when you're really technical and you don't understand how those things click and why they do what they do, it's not going to
Yeah.
work. You're going to spend more time on that trying to figure it out than attaining the right people to do the right things. Like I said earlier, because they were there, they understand it. They know where those loopholes are and they can shut it down quickly.
Well, even me being in tech for now, it's been about 2 years. I mean, I'm going to Kansas City next month to visit some of my like favorite customers I have out there.
Nice.
And I mean, I already told them like I'm jumping on the phone. I'm covering some loads for you. So you guys get ready because I'm dusting off my shoulders. Like, here we go. But I want to get back in the trenches. I want to hear what the type of calls are coming in. Like even just that I mean, I felt like I got pretty good at vetting just based on what I'm hearing. Like if they're answering too quick, too slow, that type of stuff, like the human part of it. That's why some of this AI stuff that's coming out, I'm like, ooh, I don't know. I like it when they enhance your job. I don't like it when it's going to be like AI to AI booking loads together. And I'm like, are those AI like the AI for the carriers? Is that AI for the carriers? Are you vetting your carriers? Like how is that happening? Which I know that guy's been the one, I think it's Hey Bubba, I think it's called. He's been in talk with Dale Prax about that. Like I got to vet my customers coming in. I can't just, otherwise I'll ruin my product. And it's very true. Like you have to, at all tech companies out there, you've got to vet who your customers are. I mean, that's why there's such an issue with a lot of these load boards because they're just like, pay the fee and get in, FMCSA, pay the fee and get in. I don't care.
Pay the fee and get in.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more.
Man, I could talk about this forever.
I know. It's I don't know. After 45 years being in the business, my passion is still as high as it was when I first started and wanted to learn every nook and cranny from cradle to grave and how everything worked. It's you learn from mistakes, falling on your face, rising from the ashes like the phoenix, having the right mentors and the coaches and the disciplinarians, especially in this era of mass fraud. You have to have disciplinarians when you're wrong, and you have to be able to have those contacts that you can lean on, whether it's on the legal side or somebody that's been in shipping or brokerage or whatever that you might be lax in but need a better understanding. You have to know those people like Dale Prax, who's been in every possible entity of the industry as far as I know, and it's like, yeah, what do you think about this? And he's not the kind of guy that's gonna, give you the workaround or anything. He's just gonna tell you face value. This is the way that it is. This is the way you have to approach it. This is the way that you kill him off. And it's like, smart man, you gotta listen to him, We learn off each other.
Oh yeah, no, I learn. Every time I talk to him, I'm like, oh, I didn't even know that was a thing yet. And he's like, oh yeah, well, I've known about this for a year. You're like, I guess I need to talk to you more.
Yeah, it's like one thing I said to him, and it was like probably within 30 seconds. It's like, Jeff, and he said it in the most professional way too. He's like, no, even though that's the right way of doing it according to FMCSA, it's wrong, and here's the reason why. And I was like, that's a damn good reason.
That's interesting.
I was put in my place and I was like, you're right, man. You were absolutely right. And now it's in the back of my head. I'm not going to say it here because those carriers will go and circumvent, and how it works. And it's just like, he's dead on, so it's just like, when you're wrong, you're wrong. You have to be able to tell people that, what, I don't know, or I was wrong. A lot of people out there just don't have that ability or inability to do that because they're ego driven.
They even hear it. Or I was gonna say, and then whenever they hear it, they just shut down. But I think having your processes in place, like one of the comments on here was that Dale wrote, whenever a load is stolen or a process or procedure was overlooked. I mean, it most of the time, because these scamsters have been in the industry, they know at 4 p.m. on a Friday, especially holiday. This is a holiday weekend, everybody. You have to be vigilant. Like you got to be on your A game.
Oh yeah, you can't move forward. You got to go backward to his
It
point.
blows my mind. Every holiday, somebody would be like, "Yeah, we knew it wasn't the right choice. We had to." I'm like, "Why did you have to?" Like, I know shippers can say like all the things, but it's like you said before, it's your brand. Like, it's more than if you lose a customer because they are refusing to work with you and because you're terrified of fraud. Going to the next customer, yeah, I used to work with so and so. My ethics on this are that I put fraud and you're protecting your load over, having something happen to it. That's how I run my business. So I think having the right processes in place, and another thing too is that I've been pushing this like nonstop with my customers, is you need like a cheat sheet. Your reps need to have something on the side of their computer that says, this is our process, you follow this to a T. And then, like you said, having consequences. Like if you're not following this, we're so strict on our culture on this that you're like, now this is your avenue that you now have to go down.
Yeah. You know what? It's like, I'm a big work instruction process improvement kind of guy, right? So when I wrote work instructions, you have the original document of the work instructions from what you've discussed and created the structure, right? Now you have to make addendums to the original document to show process improvements over time. That's how you achieve your goals and your objectives, by looking at the past and then creating a better way of doing things moving forward. You never get rid of that original document. That's like the benchmark of how you start something, Is it finished? No, you should always be progressing and getting better and achieving more based on the deficiencies or failures that you faced from the original document. Because you may all think that everything is well and good. The way that it's written, it's really, really good. All of a sudden, regulations change, processes changes. Now you've got to adapt that change and put it in as an addendum to the original work instruction in order to move forward. Then you share that out and everybody's on the same wavelength. And then lo and behold, somebody like yourself, Danielle, will think of an idea that wasn't thought of. Boom, we put that as an addendum into a certain section, and it just keeps on growing and growing. Before you know,
got to keep reviewing it.
I mean, it's a freaking huge, book.
You have a constitution.
It really is. To Dale's point, that process and procedure failed. You got to work backwards to find out where those loopholes. You can't move forward until you identify that. First and foremost, how to close that avenue off in order to move forward. So that's why you got to go into the weeds and dig really deep to find out what actually went wrong. Before you can go ahead. So,
well, what's interesting with that is I was working with a customer, and they were talking about something that happened, and the way that they handled something that happened was really cool. They had everybody jump into a meeting. They had basically, it was a situation, but not everybody knew about the situation. They're kind of a larger organization. And so they were saying, like, just kind of like, this is what happened. What went wrong? They spelled out what went wrong. And then everybody brainstormed, everybody come up with ideas, and they found other things that they could have changed in their process that they didn't even think about, just because everybody was collaborating, everybody was talking, everybody's hearing different things whenever they're in the trenches. I think you have to take, no matter what level you're at in your company, you got to take the very bottom guy, the janitor guy, like that in the trenches, they're on the phone hustling. You got to listen to what they're hearing, and having them brainstorm and having them feel valued in being a part of that process, because then they're going to follow that process because they helped build it. You know what I mean? It's a value thing.
Remember, you're only as good as the people that you have in your inner circle. The same as if you're a leader and you hire for specific roles in your operation, right? You need to hire or put people in the right places, because they're promoting you. They are you.
They're your brand.
Whatever they do falls on your shoulders. So if you made a wrong choice and a decision, that's going to come back and kick you in the ass.
Right.
And that's why you want to hire people that are much smarter than you are, because that's how you level up. And that's why you need to be on the floor. If you're a leader, you need to be on the floor. You need to have your finger on that pulse and know exactly what's going on in every segment of that operation, day in and day out. Sleep, eat, have it in your bloodstream. You have to every single day, you know?
Yeah. No, my
and-
old boss was like that. She'd pop in on the floor. It was usually like once a week, but she would sit with every department for a little bit and just to be like, pulse check, pulse check, pulse check. What's going on? What do you guys need help with? What can we change? What do we need to update? I mean, once a week doing that. And it just felt, as me as an employee, I felt like, oh, that she actually cares what I'm doing all day long. You know, you're not just in your high horse. Sometimes you can get like that in a leadership role.
I always had an empty office because I was never in it. I mean, seriously, you know, I was a trench guy. I had to be on the floor and collaborate with people and cross train and make sure. I mean, that's the same thing as the structure that I'm trying to build here on the Freight Fraud Task Force. You know, everybody needs to collaborate and understand and cross train, understand why a certain segment of the force is doing the things that they do, because you need a well-rounded knowledge base of how fraud happens, you know.
Right.
And I really hope that we get there. I really feel strongly with the people that I have in place and what
I can't wait to see. I can't wait to see it and I'm hoping to be a part of it.
Oh, I would love to. Like I said, I'd love to have Descartes be a sponsor. I'd love to have you on board.
Yeah.
And push this thing, you know, because like I said,
we'll get that all worked out. I'm excited.
It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. You know, it's this is not, the fix is not going to happen overnight, you know, but the more people we get that have a buy-in to what we're trying to build here, and the more exposure that we get, the faster we're going to get there. But I'm not rushing. I am not rushing this because I want to do this with the team. The team is much more faceted and more intelligent than myself. But I'm like the taskmaster. I just want to make sure that we're all going at the same speed, holding each other accountable for our areas that we're posted in to get there. So it'll be great. We're going to talk next week too. So, but
no, I'm excited for that.
Listen, we could talk for hours. I thank you so much for joining this special this segment of the story.
Thanks so much for letting me have some spotlight on this. Like I said, this is like a huge passion project for me, and cannot emphasize enough like how interesting this webinar is going to be. And then just like you kind of just want to know what can we all do about it. I think that's kind of the biggest thing, like how you're building your task force. That's awesome. What if I don't have time for that? You know, I am a mom of 3 and all I can do is sign a petition saying that I agree with whatever. I can click on a button online, you know. Well, do that. Get involved somehow. Please join the webinar. Please be a part of it all. So
absolutely. So tell everybody about Monday. What's happening on Monday?
Well, Monday, I'm jumping on the Stop the Scam Logistics Fraud Prevention part. I'm jumping on that podcast. But then Thursday is my webinar. So Thursday at 1 p.m. is the actual webinar, 1 p.m. Eastern. I do have links everywhere. I'll make sure to plop that in this part as well. But my LinkedIn, on my Care Portal's LinkedIn, have it everywhere. Promise it's not sales pitchy. I promise. It's really just about, it was funny because we were going through the slide decks on like what all the videos and all the talking points we're putting in. And my marketing guy's like, this is going to go over an hour. I'm like, well, it should. I want them to say everything. Like they have so many stories and so much knowledge to give us.
Sure.
Let's let them give it to us. So wanting to make sure we have a platform to, you know.
So what time is Stop This Scam podcast on Monday?
Oh man, I think it's 1 p.m. Central. Hold on.
2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time?
2 p.m. Eastern. Yes, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then 1 p.m. Central. Yep. So check that one out too. I know you'll be on there too, or is it just gonna be Dale and me? And
yes, yep, I'll be on it as well with John Quintero.
John.
Yeah, I can't wait. I think it's going to be a great conversation like we just had here. Thank you so much, Danielle, for popping in and making this happen. I will also join you on Thursday. I definitely want to hear what Chips has to say. You know, I'll probably be in the comment field asking them exactly what I asked you.
Yeah,
you know,
do it.
How are you going to proceed with 4 guys in such a large city with so much corruption and deceit and theft going on? I mean, your back is against the wall and you have no bullets in your gun right now, you know.
And they feel it too.
Like battle uphill. I definitely want to hear how they're going to do this, because it's not going to be easy. I'll tell you that right now. So
right. Well, I'm glad they're at least doing something, you know, starting off. And they're like the amount of recoveries that we're making and things is making such an impact that they are seeing that the funding needs to be there.
Yeah,
So I'm hoping even just what they're doing there, like I'll throw some numbers in that PowerPoint. I'm pretty sure I already have it in there. But what they've already accomplished, and this is not something that's been around for a long time. Like it's a newer task force. So yeah, ask away, ask all the questions. That's why they're there.
Well, listen, my friend, I hope that you have a great weekend. Happy Easter to you and your family. And I will be talking to you on Monday afternoon. I'll see you soon.
Yes, definitely. Bye. Thanks, everybody.
See ya.